obviously, Whitney, congrats on making it back into
Thank
Mum
you.
Talk. Big moment.
See how long it lasts.
Yeah. You were taking like quite a lot of heat from Michaela.
Yeah.
Like I was sort of getting a bit like, okay, calm down now.
Yeah.
And obviously you had like 1 or 2 moments where you kind of bit back. But
yeah.
for the most part, you just kind of like laid back and chilled. And I'm just wondering where you got that resolve from.
I think just like what's not shown is Michaela and I like really have a past. Like we really were best friends. So I think just when I look back and watch that season, like obviously she cared so much or else she wouldn't have hurt so much with like maybe like to me what seemed little things, but to her obviously really hurt her.
Like the opposite of love is indifference.
Yeah,
she was passionate.
She was passionate about it. And so like that's the perspective I like to take rather than just like intentionally being malicious and mean. But yeah, it was definitely hard to watch for sure.
Yeah.
You're also like pregnant and
I just gave birth.
Yeah, I'm like, that's why you're calm.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what did she say? Like, I'm like half awake
As
right
you're pumping?
now. Yeah.
I was going to say, you're so impressive. You were like 3 days postpartum at the dinner party.
Yes.
You were like shaking your ass on a pole
Yeah.
at some
hell
point.
yeah.
I was like,
I mean, I didn't win the twerking contest, but maybe we need to
you were the
rematch.
people's winner, though, I think.
Thank you.
So.
I think your
take
pump
it.
was like an unpaid character.
Really?
Like, every scene you're like fighting and pumping.
It was really
I love
impressive.
it. Okay, good.
And then I was also quite hurt on your behalf, I guess, with the like Jay-Z Styles product
Yeah.
gift from Taylor.
Oh,
Sort of being brought in. I love how you were like.
I know, I was like, what?
Just in general. I guess that was like this season's Fruity Pebbles moment.
Yes, yeah, I could see that.
I just want to know how you felt about kind of being brought into the Dei Taylor feud via your hair product.
Honestly, it was great marketing for me. I loved it. We've had people message like, "Where can I buy that exact box?"
Oh
I'm
my
like, "Oh, I need to
God.
put on my website."
Yeah,
Like,
you do.
That's genius.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Leanne's gift.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Taylor's
Yeah,
gift, you
that's
should
what I'll
call
call
it.
it.
Yes.
Taylor's box.
Taylor's
yeah.
box.
I wasn't surprised because Taylor's so petty like that,
Yeah,
but she
she
owns it, and I love it because she's like, "Yeah, I was petty. I did it," you know.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of laughing when it happened, but obviously there were deeper hurt feelings about that whole situation. So it was definitely bittersweet, but now it's paid off. So
Great marketing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then speaking of Taylor, I think there was like quite a lot of outrage over her family's treatment, some comments that they made, but then that was sort of undermined by her mum turning up to the Christmas party to like fight her battles on her behalf.
Yeah.
I wanted to know for you guys like what your personal threshold would be for you calling up a parent to
well,
come
you
and get
had
involved
experience
in your
with
fight.
this with Leanne.
Well, one, I would never do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's so never.
I would never do that. But yeah, because Leanne called me when I didn't show up to the baby shower, like, where are you? I'm like, I don't, what? Like,
Yeah.
Shouldn't I be talking to Taylor right now?
So there's
Yeah.
like no scenario basically
I
ever
would never
where you
ask my
would
mom
get
to do that
them
ever in a
involved.
I also
million
don't know if
years.
I would do that for like my daughter. But
Yeah.
I think that she showed up just to deliver the gift. I think in her head she was like, "Oh, Taylor asked me to drop the gift off." And I think she genuinely didn't think she was going to get into a fight. I think she was just like, "I'm going to drop it off and leave." But if there's going to be a talk, like she's going to be down because it's Leanne.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if it was like terrible intentions. I also don't know if she knew what the gift was.
Okay.
I don't think she knew what the
I don't
gift
think she
was.
knew. I
Yeah.
think she genuinely was
That's
like, "Oh,
what she
Taylor
was
wants me to drop a
wrapped,
gift
yeah.
off." And honestly, Leanne's around a lot. We know her really well. She's one of my clients at the salon. So I'm like, maybe she just was like, "Oh, it's the girls." I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, I don't think I would have done that.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in how ketamine therapy sort of squares with Mormonism.
It's so funny. I always say it's like a Mormon loophole. Like, since it's a doctor and it's like
Not
medicated.
recreational.
Yeah, they're not doing it on their own. I think it's like how they get away with it. Like, I can go do drugs, but it's like therapy.
There was no sort of therapist involved though. That was kind of what
No,
was surprising
there is
to me.
normally.
There is. They just weren't shown.
I think they talk you through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it is therapy, but I think it also, like I've done it a lot, it's supposed to rewire the like neural pathways in your brain, and it takes you back to when you're like 2 years old and your brain's developing, and it teaches you how to reprocess trauma. So there is like a meaning and there's a science behind it, but it's just funny the way that we're like, no coffee, but let's go do ketamine.
Yeah. I like it, Mormon loophole. I love
Yes,
that.
yeah.
I thought what was super interesting about this season was that there was quite a lot of like breaking the fourth wall. Like it was all a bit meta. You had like CMA's gate that was happening offline. You had hot mic moments you guys were discussing.
Yeah.
Salaries, brand deals. There was overlap with another
Zach
show.
like got up and walked off in one
Yeah,
scene.
Jen obviously kind of left the show, and I thought that like play between your private and public life was quite blurred, and it was really interesting, like as a viewer, you know, how kind of you guys decided to be that transparent about your lives and like what you decide to like withhold and not. Like, how do you decide?
Well, I feel like the breaking of the fourth wall in the moment when those things happen, like we assume it's not going to make it, right? So we're just talking like it'll get cut. But I actually think it was a great choice from the show to keep those things in because it's the unspoken thing that there's cameras around. Like we all know it.
Yeah.
I actually feel like it made it feel more real.
Yeah.
Because most shows just try to avoid that, and I think it like made people resonate with it. I think.
I agree.
But those were crazy. I thought for sure those were not going to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so meta. I was like, whoa.
But no show's
Yeah.
really done that. So I think maybe it was unique. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And like talking about like fan favorites, I was like, this is crazy.
Yes.
It's like switching in real time. Like
Yes.
Yeah.
someone saying they're a fan favorite, I'm like, ugh, not anymore.
Like
Sorry,
most
girl.
people on shows would like disguise that and be like, I'm the most popular online, and like not reference the show, but we did, and it worked. I
Yeah,
think.
I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
And then I guess something that the show also tackled this year was there was like a lot of darker themes. Sorry to bring the mood down a bit, but obviously grief, mental health, your health,
Yeah.
sexual abuse, infertility. I thought it was amazing that you guys were being like very vulnerable and very raw, and I was wondering why and how you guys decide what parts of your life you're going to share.
Oh gosh. I mean, I think it's different for every single person, but I think that just like naturally we all already started on social media, so I think we already kind of had that aspect out of all of us. But then obviously reality TV takes it to a whole nother level, and I think it just happens naturally, honestly, from every single one of us.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Like
We're
I
all
don't think we
used to being
think
open.
about it; it just like happens.
Also, if you don't show something that's going on in your life, the narrative will probably be told for you. So it's better to have a voice in it. Like, I'm going to share this because it might help someone.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. And then also like otherwise you end up with kind of hot mic moments and stuff. being told.
It'll always come to the surface anyways.
Yes.
Yeah. Any regrets over the Chippendales situation?
Oh, God. Yes, definitely. I will say, like, the part that like wasn't really shown is that Jen had said at my salon that day, we are going to go to Chippendales and it's exposure therapy. And I said, you know, they like dance on you and they put your hands on their ass and things like that. And she's like, yeah, like Zach's totally fine with it. Like we're good. So that's why like it didn't seem like a big deal to me because they were already planning to go. So I will say that's how I justified it back then.
Didn't they already go?
That was after. They did this like a month ago.
Okay,
And I was
okay.
shocked.
Yeah.
Clearly exposure therapy
Yes.
works. But I, in the moment, was like not
Jessi
realizing.
inspired them.
Yes. I'm like, you're welcome. But no, I didn't realize that it was going to cause as big of an issue as it did. So now looking back, I'm like, I probably should have just stayed out of it. We all roast each other. I just thought it was a fun prank. But if I had known Jen's mental health space at the time, I wouldn't have done it. But I had no idea at all. And she also made it sound like they were doing so much better. So like, with the knowledge I had, I feel like it would have been fine if that was all true. But knowing they were struggling, I wouldn't have touched it.
Yeah, I think there were like a few moments where they were sort of meant to be light and ended up being a bit like the
Yes.
pregnancy roulette moment. I guess like
That was a
meant to be
trend.
fun and ended up
Yeah.
being.
Honestly, I think it just all turns into miscommunication because Jen even said that she'd be totally fine with like Brett and Jordan dressing up as Chippendales and like coming and dancing. So it's like the aspect that there actually wasn't a Chippendales dancer was something that she like completely, I don't know.
So that,
so
like,
I feel like
that
that was the
flipped it.
miscommunication. Yeah, that
Yes.
flipped it because to them, like if I already hear that, I'd be like, oh yeah, like that's totally fine. But then she was like, but you didn't tell me about the actual Chippendales dancer. So again, just I think it's just miscommunication,
100%.
honestly.
Honestly, my favourite part of the season was when after the whole fight happened and the police turned up and it was you going, have you watched the show? And he went, no. And I was like,
I know.
surely this is the biggest thing in you.
Also,
right now.
one of the
Thank
cops
you.
was a girl. I'm like, you have seen it.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're lying.
Yeah.
No, do
You
you
know
know
who
a funny
we are.
story?
Yeah.
So the cops hadn't seen it, whatever. The next day, there was a car that ran into my salon, like ran into it. They were the cops that showed up and they were like, oh, we were just at your house last night. I'm like, they think I'm insane. Like I always have things going on.
What do you mean they ran into your
So it's
son?
on a main road and they like lost control and like ran into the side of my building. It didn't like break any windows,
didn't
luckily.
know that. Oh
Yes,
my
the
gosh.
next day and it was
Someone
those
has
two
it out
cops.
for you. That's
I know, I'm like,
scary.
karma,
Yeah.
for the
I don't like
Chippendales.
that. Watch the show.